is physical. I think Race and Trace are as good a front line as there is in college basketball, and I think they're a really talented group that's well coached by Mike and his staff, and obviously they're coming off a road league loss. They're undefeated at home. And I think we understand how challenging it is to play there in Assembly Hall. So it's a great environment, and one that obviously our guys need to be ready to play in.
Can you give us updates on Kyle and Justice and Seth, just how those guys are all doing?
Yeah, so Justice and Seth will not play. They continue to be evaluated and go through their progression. They are getting better, making progress. Kyle's feeling better. We'll see. We'll evaluate him after practice today here and make a determination at that point.
It's pretty obvious, but how important when you talk about their front line, it seems like a game that Kyle would be especially important for you. How big is his status as far as this game goes?
Yeah, it's always big. As you guys know who've watched us play, his status is always big for us, and his play is really important for us. I think we've seen that in so many games, particularly when you go on the road. You have a veteran guy. We saw that at Penn State, how critical he was coming off the bench for us there. So he's really important. They have other guys outside on the front line outside of those two guys. I just think those two guys are really good players, and really, obviously a lot's made of Trace for good reason. He's a preseason All-American for good reason, but Race is developed into a really good player. We knew he was a good player coming out of high school, and he's a really talented kid.
Where has Trace improved most in the last 3 years of playing against him?
Trace?
Yeah.
I just think he's like any kid. He's kind of grown into adding to his game. He's really difficult on both blocks, but he's tremendous getting to his left hand, and he's a tremendous athlete at his size. He's got 40 blocks on the year, so his ability to impact the game on both ends is pretty significant. He's a weapon on both ends, and the kid was, he's a five-star coming in. He's going into his third year. That's kind of what you'd expect from someone as talented as he has been.
And then Coach Malachi, obviously, with that huge game the other night. Did any part of that surprise you at all, or did you see in him the potential to have a game like that this early on in his freshman year?
No, I don't think you ever anticipate a game of that number. 35 points is, it's unprecedented, really. So by a freshman, but much it's unprecedented by anybody. I just think honestly he took advantage of some openings and the way that they were collapsing and playing defensively. He had great shot prep and readiness to attack offensively. That got him in a rhythm, and then he was able to get to his spots in the last 20 minutes. But no, I think for people to somehow expect that this is, going to be a regular occurrence, is they have not watched college basketball enough. The young man had a tremendous game, but he's going to have other moments where he struggles, just like every other college kid, much less freshman. But he certainly provided a great lift for us. And the interesting thing about that game is so much of that came within the flow of the offense. And he stayed aggressive, but didn't really force much. And again, he took advantage of how they were collapsing, but give him credit. He had great aggressiveness.
Chris, I think building off that, how much of his performance was deservedly so? His work ethic, his preparation, how much of that kind of had he earned to that point, Malachi?
Yeah, I think he's earned the right to play well, but that's been the case all year. And he came off a 4-turnover performance and didn't score against Wisconsin, but it didn't deter that young man. He just kept working, and I think he's got an understanding. It's harder when you go through it, but he's got an understanding of the ebbs and flows of a young player in college, and how you can just you can struggle, you can look great one night, and then the other night the defense is maybe giving you a little more attention, or it's just not your night, or you're struggling. But he understands he's a talented young man that has to keep at the forefront, just staying coachable, staying hungry, and continuing to get better.
Chris, it seems on the outside looking in that Malachi doesn't have much of an ego. Maybe a rare thing these days. I don't know if that's because you've got like that line of delineation. If you're a top 10 recruit in the country, everybody's talking about you. Like two dudes that went to Memphis, the second they struggle, everybody's asking what's wrong with them. But Malachi just seems like he's taking everything in stride. Maybe that's the team he's on. You got an E.J. Liddell that can be the leader of the group. I don't know what you see there. Yeah, no,
he's got a maturity to him, and I think that's really what makes a guy able to grow in his career as a young player, is he's got the maturity to understand that, I think he's got a maturity and a quiet confidence to him. And I think you have to be a confident, in some cases borderline arrogant player to be a really good player at this level. And but he's also understands and has appreciation for how hard this is. I think he's growing in that, understanding how hard it is. And I think, he also recognizes probably that, some of the opportunities he got was because of the attention that his teammates were giving him, or his teammates were given by Nebraska's defense. So, I've been really pleased with just overall his maturity. And again, he's had other really good moments this season. Had a great moment late in our first game. He's had some really good moments, and I think he'll continue to have that because of who he is as a kid.
Just one more about the way the game went over the weekend. I feel like, you know this, you're going to get a bucket of games that will go like that. The fan base might say 6 and 7, what's going on here? But you know how that goes. Do you almost cherish a win like that where you survive and grind it out more than when you knock somebody or wipe somebody by 18 or 20 points?
Yeah, you'd always like to be able to do the other one, to be honest with you, where you can pull away and have some, maybe feel good about how you imposed yourself on the game as a team. But you're not going to do that every night. And I think the challenge for us is we've got to take the lessons that we learned from that game and figure out what we did, and also pay respect to Nebraska for what they were able to do to put us in difficult spots. What are the correctable things we can do better? Own that and move forward. And yet at the same time, to your point, embrace the fact that, you don't always win a game when you're down 5 with 33 seconds to go. So to be able to do that is a credit to our guys making plays.
Chris, any particular take on this new policy with no concessions? I'm sure you're aware of it. Is that a COVID issue? Is that a staffing issue?
No, I believe it's a COVID protocol issue that the university's put in place, Clay. And obviously that's a decision that the university's made, and we'll support. I'm hoping that sooner rather than later the numbers can go down, and we can get back to a normal type of environment at home.
What's it been like for you to see things kind of change the way that they were last year in 2020 and maybe revert back to where things were in that sense?
What was the first part of your question? I'm sorry.
What is it like for you to see things kind of revert back to where they were this time last year and now it's happening again? And how did the players handle that as well?
Yeah, if you're reading the tea leaves a little bit, you kind of got the sense that maybe some of this was coming, some types of more kind of policies were going to be coming. I think in some ways it can be a frustrating thing, and yet at the same time, I think you just hope that the numbers continue to go down and we're able to get back to a regular environment at home. But obviously, I know our university officials, our medical staff are looking and making sure that safety's at a premium.
You talked a moment ago about what are the correct tools we need to do better. And when we talked after the game, you mentioned turnovers, and not sure how much of that was fatigue induced and how much of that, as you've reviewed the film from that game, what were your takeaways on the issues of taking care of the ball?
I think it was, honestly, it was more on us. I think there were some fatigue-related things, Adam, in terms of just maybe our shooting at times and our ability to play with pace defensively. But I think that was just on us. We just have to be better in that area.
Is that getting frustrating at all? I mean, when you are as good offensively as you proven yourselves to be, if you get a shot, it's probably going to be a good one.
Yeah. I think I've accepted the fact that we're not going to have the same turnover percentage that we had last year. We had older guys that have been in our program for 2, 3, 4 years. And we had guys that were experienced in what we were doing, and we really, we also played a little bit smaller across the board. Now you have just more guys handling the ball. You have new players handling the ball, and their turnovers and assist-to-turnovers ratio has to get better. Jamari, it's uncharacteristically had 5 the other day, but he's been pretty solid with it. You have EJ's whose turnover numbers have been higher. His assist numbers have always also been high too, but he's handling the ball. So I just don't think we're going to have the numbers that we had last year, where I think we were top 20 or top 15 in the country in turnover rate. I just don't think it's going to get there, but it can get better. It needs to get better.
Coach, how are you preparing your team to play in Assembly Hall tomorrow? You've got a handful of younger guys who play in Assembly Hall with a full crowd.
Yeah.
So how are you kind of prepping them for that environment?
Yeah, we'll make them aware of it, and we'll do some things that we typically do in practice that, I'll kind of keep between us, just to try to make our guys focus and concentrate on the moment and stay locked in on what they need to do, given what the surroundings are going to be like. All of you guys that have been there know it's a great environment, one of the best in college basketball typically, and we're going against a team that's going to be incredibly hungry. Again, I think I went into the season saying, hey, this is a team that certainly it can be a top 25 team. I believe they're that good. So I think for us, we need to have an understanding of what we're going into, and so our players, and particularly our young guys.
Chris, you had talked about...
I'm sorry. There we go. Okay. Sorry, I'm having a hard time actually picking up your voices with the mask there.
You had talked about a little bit before Sunday night about learning a little bit about on the other side of this COVID break how you guys would be, but also was there an element of just almost making sure you got through that game because you hadn't played in 22 days and there were so many circumstances. It's a Big Ten road game.
Yeah.
How do you feel now on the other side of it? Just kind of making your way through it?
Good. I don't think we're through some of it yet, but again, you want to try not to use that as an excuse for things we need to do better at the same time, things we need to coach and play better. But yeah, I really wanted to, you said get through it. I just wanted that game to get in. I wanted to play that game because I felt like that was going to be so important for us. Obviously, you wanted to win it, but I want our guys to get back to playing because they need that. They want that for one, but we also need that as a group. So that was my biggest thing is let's just get to 8 o'clock on Sunday night and hopefully, play well. And I think, again, we took some real lessons from that. And we need to, we need to grow. We need to grow. We need to continue to get better as a group. But getting that game in was important.
How much do you kind of balance as a coaching staff, taking things and lessons from that game, but also not building it as an excuse, but when you're watching the film, just understanding that here's a play where we haven't played in 22 days, and it shows this set, this possession, this defensive stop, like those kind of things. How do you balance that?
Yeah.
Make sure your guys try to balance it too.
We've really tried to look at it and see some of the things maybe that were uncharacteristic of us or inconsistent with how we had been playing. And, with the turnovers, again, I think that's on us. We have to do a better job of that. But there were some things maybe that were a little bit inconsistent that were more fatigue related or just a little bit rust related. I've talked to one of you guys in here, and you mentioned kind of a study where it takes a couple games. We'll see. I think practice time is great, and we needed that, and we still need that. But you can't duplicate the timing of game reps.
We've got time for one more. Steve, go ahead. Your teams are kind of mirror images. You both have the 4 and the 5 have been pretty solid, and then some other guys around them who have really mixed in pretty good. What do you? And you talked a little bit about the 2 big guys. Just in general, what do you see from them? They've been in every game they've played, it looks like. Yeah. Probably play 5 or 10 points better at home than they do on the road. They
really do. They're really good at home. I don't know if there's been an Indiana team that's not been really good at home, right? It kind of goes without saying. They're really good at home. And I think they're, the energy they get from the crowd is tremendous, and it's a great college environment. But I think, to your point, there are some similarities. They have some older guards that they brought in that are transfers. They also are implementing some young guys to their program that have been important. Bates has been an important player for them. And they have a front line that, again, I think our front line, when we're fully healthy, is really good, and I think their front line is really good as well. So there are some similarities for sure in both teams. I think the thing that I've been really impressed with them is this is the best defense we've played against. And when you look at their numbers right now, that is, the numbers back that up. It's the best defense we played against. Okay, guys, take care.